Hi, everybody. This is Wayne Turmel from the Remote Leadership Institute. I was going to do this as a blog post, but it's easier to just kind of record the rant that's going around in my brain. You can probably tell from looking at me, I am not what you'd think of as a comic book guy, but I want to talk to you about what responsible grown up adults, especially those who choose to work remotely or take advantage of hybrid work where you're only in the office once in a while, what we can learn from Spider-Man. Now, I'm using a very simple backdrop because we don't have getting sued by Marvel or Disney money. But I want you to think about two things. Uh, and Spider-Man, whether it's the movies or the comics, there are two things that he's famous for. First is the idea of spidey senses. Peter Parker often is minding his own business and he gets a tingling when something's wrong. Ignoring it inevitably leads to something bad happening. Now, the odds of someone with 8 robotic arms dropping a car on you are admittedly remote. But you've been around long enough to know that when you're working remotely, especially in heads down project completing mode, it is tempting to pretend that things aren't happening around you. And it's also dangerous. As a good teammate, you need to be aware of what's going on. If someone sounds like they're struggling, do you help them or do you just ignore it? When you see a potential problem and your spidey senses start going off, do you speak up or do you just kind of la 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 la, I'm not listening to you? Don't ignore your spidey senses, act on them. That's number one. And it ties directly to number two. And this is huge. And I get a lot of pushback when I talk to people about this. A lot of you don't want to hear. Fine, ignore it at your peril. We all know the famous scene where Spider Man's Uncle Ben is dying, and he tells Peter, with great power comes great responsibility. What does that have to do with us? Well, when we work from somewhere other than the office, there's great power in that. We have more control of our schedule, how we spend our energy, how and what we work on. That's power. But we have responsibilities as well. And it's easy to ignore them. We need to be responsible for how we work with our teammates, how we work with our manager and our organization. Our development is our responsibility. We no longer have instant access to learning and development. We don't often hear what's going on in other departments unless we ask about it. We need to be proactive and occasionally check out what's going on around us. And when we work remotely, we can get very kind of self satisfied, right? We choose to ignore office politics, but then we complain that we don't know what's going on in our company or we didn't hear about this problem that suddenly impacts our work. Odds are it was in all those company newsletters that you deleted without reading. To say nobody told me may be true, but it's also an excuse. When you complain that your manager isn't assigning you certain tasks or bringing you into discussions, that might be valid. But did you do to be visible and overcome the very natural and real limitations of proximity bias and out of sight and out of mind? Odds are your spidey senses have been tingling for a while, and it was just easier not to think about it. If you accept the benefits and, yes, the power of working remotely, you have a responsibility to your employer, your teammates, and yourself to be informed, connected, and aware. So, with power comes responsibility. Just a gentle reminder from your friendly neighborhood remote work